Hey, everybody. What's up? It's Tuesday. It's 7 p.m. Central Time, 1 a.m. GMT, some other time, some other place. I hope you guys are all doing amazing. Can you guys hear me all right? I moved my mic and you kind of can't see most of it now, but it is less in front of my laptop. So that's helpful. Thank you, Via Swing. Appreciate it. Yeah, my little $40 mic, it does all right. Um, so how is everybody? Y'all been having a good week? 2021 has been a little rough for Twitch. Lots of technical situations going on, but hope all of you are doing good. Um, Lots of changes in this year, but I don't know about you guys. I got a good feeling about 2021. I think we're I think we're going to move forward in a good place, in a good direction. Yeah, intake. Yeah, you do hard labor too. Like you're not like me with like soft hands working in an office typing on a keyboard all day. Um, but yeah, you know what, Via Swing, that's a really good point too. We are all still here. Jumpin' Jack Frost on his Instagram posted a video today about that and just about how much we all have to be grateful for the fact that we're just still alive. And I'm really feeling that. Um, Also, by the way, if you want a fantastically positive and yet also challenging Instagram or Twitter follow, Jumpin' Jack Frost is your man. He's amazing. I think he's DJ JJ Frost on Instagram. I don't know what he is on Twitter. It might be the same. But I should be on Twitter more, but man, I can't. I just can't bring myself to I can't bring myself to do it. Um it's a little it's a little painful. There's a lot of angry people on Twitter, and I'm just not, I'm not in the mood for it. If you see me, if he, if you see my guys mute, or if you see me mute my mic, guys, that's because I had a cider, a nice carbonated cider before the show, which I didn't really think that one through, like at all. But it was a rough day at work, so yeah, I wanted a little bit of a looseness going on. So super stoked tonight. We have Scam Circuit here, aka Circuit XL, aka Scam something else he told me, but yeah, from Scamdemic Transmissions, the purveyor of the world's leading stream to shower to with his Wet Wednesdays stream. It's fantastic. I love it. Um, that was the stream that actually got me into off-world recordings because the first stream that I watched from him, he basically played off-world recordings the entire time, and it was dope. I loved the whole thing. So, yeah. Um, yeah, dude, Scam Circuit, I am never gonna forget the stream to shower to bit. That was just too it was just too good. It was absolutely too good. Um, so yeah, tonight we have him with us. I'm super excited, but I also wanted to tell you guys the what's coming up. So I'm gonna share my screen with you because I wanted to show you my the schedule coming up. And we've got a really good schedule coming up. I'm super excited about it. Um, and yeah, so here we go. Let's see. Can you see it all right? All right. So this is what is happening. So next week, next Tuesday, um, DJ Roxanne is going to be on. And I don't know if you guys have heard of her. She doesn't stream a lot right now. She's done a couple guest streams, or she's done at least one guest stream. I don't know how many, but she is the real deal. She was really active in San Francisco's drum and bass scene in the mid to late 90s. And I'm sure beyond that as well, but that's the time period that I really, like was active enough to know about. If you ever heard of Eclectic, that was a regular drum and bass night that really blew up. And yeah, so she's amazing. She has lots of cool stories. Um, I don't know if she's going to talk about what her like day adult job is, but I'm really hoping she does because it's really, really a cool job. Um, so yeah, I hope we can talk about it. Trust me when I say, like, it may sound boring, um, to talk about her job, but trust me, this kind of job would not be boring. But anyway, phenomenal DJ, big history in the scene. I think it's gonna be a total blast. Um, the 23rd, unless something crazy happens, there's not gonna be a show. I am moving on the 25th, and so I'm pretty sure on the 23rd, I'm going to be scrambling to, finish packing. Then, the 2nd of moving into March, the 2nd, I don't have anyone booked yet, but I'm on it, and, on the 6th of March, this is gonna be a dope stream. So, it's my Saturday stream, but we're doing a special thing where, um, my friend, the West Dub, who I had on the stream, at the end of December, he's gonna come back, and he's extremely well versed in drum and bass. He has and jungle. He's been following it for 25 years plus, super knowledgeable, super on the pulse of everything, and he is going to teach me all of the brand new, subgenres that, I ran into when I got back into closely following things, in 2020 and was like, "What the fuck is all this?" So yeah, I'm super excited for that. I think it's gonna be really fun. We want to involve, the chat as well. So, like, what we're thinking we're gonna do right now is he'll play something and have me guess from, like, a multiple choice what the genre is, and we'll do a poll for the audience as well, and so we can see, does the audience get it right, and does the audience all agree to what it is? And then he'll go into a little bit about the genre, maybe play some more examples. So, the thing to know about that is, obviously, if you wanna listen to that on Twitch, it's probably gonna get muted, but I do plan to put it up on YouTube. I'm working on my YouTube page right now, so everything will be, um, archived on YouTube. I'm not gonna take any of the VODs down here unless they get a copyright claim. Um, but yeah, so I'm excited about that. It's gonna be really fun. Then on Tuesday, March 9th, Gouda DMB is gonna be here, and I'm so excited about that. Gouda is such an interesting guy. It's gonna be super fun. And then on the 13th, that following Saturday, he is doing a all day, like, uh, at least 24-hour raid train to raise funds for the I think the charity, I think, is called Make a Change, or the raid train is called Make a Change. But basically, there's a bunch of amazing DJs in it, and they're all going to be playing stuff that they don't normally do, or doing things that they don't normally do. I don't know what I am going to do. That's not what I normally do, 'cause talking to Gouda, if it was not an interview, um, I don't know, I don't know. I don't know if that counts enough. I was like, "Well, should I straighten my hair? Then I won't be curly." Like, I don't know. If you guys have any ideas about what should happen, let me know. Uh, Gouda said he could interview me. I don't know if you guys even want that, so, let me know if you got any ideas, okay? So, yeah, that is enough of that. Um And yeah, I should make a track on screen. You do not want to see that. That is like a blind pig searching for a truffle, except way less exciting. Sometimes I find a truffle, most of the time I come up empty. So you do not want to see that. Better that you actually watch our guest today, who does at least one production stream a week, sometimes two. So, let me tell you a little bit about him, and then we'll go ahead and bring him in. So, um, Circuit XL is a DJ, and he streams on Twitch under the name Scam Circuit, as you guys know. Um, he is also a producer, and he is very well known and loved for his Wet Wednesdays, devoted to all the juicy drum and bass sounds. Um, and yes, as I said before, it is definitely the best stream on Twitch to shower by. Um, so let's go ahead and bring him in. I'm super excited to talk to him. And there we go. Hey,
Hey,
dude.
hey,
Good
how's
to
it
see
going? Thank
you.
you so much for having me.
I'm so glad you came. Like, this
This
is
is a blast.
amazing. It's it's so fun. Like, I
It
love
really
that
is.
everybody's having fun. Like, as far as I'm concerned, that's as long as people keep wanting to come and they have a good time, that's a win. Like, because I'm having a blast. So, winning, winning all around.
Yeah,
Um,
if you're having fun, people are going to come back. That's what I've learned.
yeah, I mean, that's kind of my that's we were talking earlier about like, how there's like multiple boxes to tick for people to like make them want to come back to your stream. And I know for me that if the host is having fun, that is a big box to tick for me. I mean, witness DJ Markey. My God. Like
You
he is
can't stop
bouncing.
smiling.
He
It's
can't
so
stop
true.
smiling. He is bouncing so hard in that room. I'm waiting for his laptop to go flying and for records to come off of the shelves. It's fantastic. It's
If he keeps
everything.
on going, it'll happen eventually. So
Right? Yeah, that laptop stand is gonna crap out one day.
we'll see it.
Look
We'll see it
look
someday.
yeah, luckily it's just control vinyl, and he has that cool control vinyl that has the like, you don't need needles for it, right? It has the little spinny thing.
I think it's called phase.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it just senses the movement. I think, and yeah, no, they're pretty rad. Definitely thought about
yeah,
picking them up, but haven't
yeah.
gotten there yet.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, let's talk about that. So what do you spin on? Are you spinning on like controllers or are you doing like turntables and control vinyl?
Um, Whatever I have with me, that's what
Okay.
I spin on. So right now, I actually don't have any controllers. I'm just using, yeah, just use putting tracks on the laptop. But I did bring my mixer. So I am here in
Okay.
Brazil right now in the land of El Side and DJ Markey. Sadly, I don't think I'll be able to link up with them due to the pandemic, but um, yeah, so I did bring as much gear as I could with me, but the turntables were going to be a hard sell. That would have been
Yeah.
real rough to bring them over
Yeah.
here. But alas, when in the full studio setup, I do have two turntables. They're the Reloop 8000s Mark two, I think, or Mark one, and they've got MIDI controls on them directly, but it's a very strong turntable, made by the same designers that made the Stanton turntables.
Okay.
I haven't invested in Technics yet, but someday. I'm still moving around too much for honestly, all my stuff gets beat up, so waiting for the right time and place to really invest the money into some serious hardware. But I use
Yes.
DVS, I use Tractor
Mhm.
DJ
Mhm.
3, and but I use all the different software for different reasons. So
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you want to talk about it, we've talked, you were in New York in March. Then did you come to Brazil after that or where did you go after that?
yeah, yeah, I was living in New York City for let's say 8 years, almost 8 years, just short of 8 years, and then that whole pandemic thing that we're still living with, kind of happened.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that thing. That little thing.
and my wife and I mean, my wife's company said was like, well, just work remote, and I was like, okay, well, we can both work remote. Let's go. And we headed back to Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I'm, originally from, born and raised, and lived there basically most of 2020, and then
Mhm.
in right at the end of November, December 1st, basically, moved here to Brazil for 5 months, basically to skip the winter. So I'm not going to rub it in too much, but I am enjoying it very much. It is real nice not having to deal
Yeah,
with the cold.
and it
So
especially in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I mean, yeah, no. No
yeah,
thanks.
it's pretty
Great
cold.
Lakes all around there. Oof, yeah.
I mean, you
Um,
don't have much to complain about either. So I mean, you're in
no.
where are you?
Well, and
You're in Texas, but
I'm in
where in
Texas,
Texas?
yeah. Austin. Austin.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I also have air conditioning. So, like watching your streams lately where it has actually been warm. It seems like your AC system is perhaps not as uh, well developed or as uh, uh, high level as Texans demand and require. Like in Texas,
Yeah.
it's actually dangerous to not have air conditioning. So
Yeah,
yeah.
so, I've actually, we, usually don't have the air conditioning on during the day,
Mhm.
and we do turn it on at night in the bedroom, just to make it comfortable for
Right.
sleeping, but for the most part, it's really nice, we got an apartment on Airbnb here, and, it's the 11th floor, I think, and, so we've got a great breeze, and, so we open,
Yes.
like, and we've got, 2 balconies, one's really like a proper terrace. It's great. It's a very
Nice.
special place. We really lucked out. And so we have a incredible cross breeze most of the day, but
Yeah.
it gets really humid here. So
Yes.
even it's
Yes.
just that's why I'm often quite perspirant, shall we say?
Yeah, but,
uh,
I think wherever you are as a like, obviously, it's worse when it's hot, but, like, I never did a DJ gig no matter what time of year, or the indoor temperature where I didn't end up sweating at some point. I don't know what it is about DJing, but
I
for
mean,
me,
you
that
are
was
moving.
always something.
You're
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
moving. I mean, I definitely know some DJs that just kind of stand there and they're like
Mhm.
T-Rex arming it,
Yeah. Yeah,
and
I yeah.
you,
I
you're
wasn't
just like,
full T-Rex, but I didn't dance a lot because I was very serious. Like, if
oh
I
yeah.
could go back, I would have a lot more fun, but I was very serious and, like, really focused on getting it right, It was fun, but,
I
I was
think
no
I
I was no Marky, for sure.
oh yeah. When I first started DJing at the clubs, I think there was a lot of nervous energy for me, and
Mhm.
I definitely had to dance it out. I just like, let's go.
Yeah.
And at the same time, when you're that nervous and you're like really you're thinking that fast, there's a
Mhm.
certain level of adrenaline for sure
Oh,
that
yeah.
you can focus in very quickly and get the job
Mhm.
done while still releasing that energy. So I mean that's
Yes.
how it was for me, and
Yeah.
it was actually the same way when I first started streaming a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And but now I just get into the vibe. If it's a really awesome tune or a sweet mix, I'm just like, yep,
Mhm.
t-
Mhm.
it's the tickle funny bone. You just
Yes.
gotta move
Yes.
a little bit.
Yeah. Well, uh, that moment as a DJ for me when you're, you're in front of the crowd and you've started to like, you've played your first couple of tracks, you're vibing off them, you can kind of see where they might want you to go, and they're responding to it. That nervousness can kind of melt away, which is really nice. Obviously, you kind of have to be at a level where you literally can pay attention to those things and you're not just completely white knuckling, your mixing. But that, you know what, that actually leads to a question that I've asked a lot of people, but for you, you have DJ'd in clubs, um, presumably in other external to your home settings
Yep.
where, there was a live audience. For you, how was that transition to streaming where you do not have like a visual or auditory interaction with your audience?
I mean, pretty weird. I will have to say that before I started streaming, I wasn't actively gigging out,
Mhm.
mostly because it was just so much of a grind. And honestly, I'll lay it out there. It's a pretty toxic environment, in a lot of big cities and stuff like that.
Mhm.
If you've got a really
Mhm.
cool community, it can be pretty good. But
Mhm.
for me, when I moved to New York, it was pretty pretty rough.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I definitely knew some cool parties and stuff like that, and definitely DJ'd those, and that was fun.
Mhm.
But it was never. I just never found the right spot when I was there. But that said, so I did take a bit of a break between gigging out and then streaming, and I kind of
Mhm.
got back into streaming because I was like, screw trying to gig out. Like, why don't I
Right.
just DJ, from my own place, have all my gear here. It's been, basically sitting here. I haven't been using it that much. And so it was still really exciting. It
Mhm.
was hard to stay motivated and keep the energy when um, right when you're starting, especially streaming, you don't have that following, so you have like nobody
Right.
watching you. And so
Yeah.
I think knowing that like there's maybe nobody there, you still have to um, put on a show. You still have to have a good time. So
Right.
uh, in this case, it becomes actually even more fun because you end up pushing yourself more to do some fun, funky stuff. You experiment a lot more. I generally experiment quite a lot earlier on in a set. Usually because at one, I have more energy. I haven't been
Mhm.
dancing around for 2 hours,
Right.
and nobody's there to get all like, "Oh, what's he doing?" So
Yeah. It's like the opening set, right? Like, there's no pressure on you at the beginning, so you can, really just let it all go. Like, "This isn't a dance floor tune, but I wanna hear it on a big system." So,
yeah, let's
there you
go.
go. Yeah.
It's nice. And you
Okay, s
actually really do have to warm up too. I've definitely noticed that. Yeah, you just even though you've done it so many times before, if and it
yeah.
seems sort of simple, but yeah, you've got to warm up.
Well,
That's for sure.
like I remember being really sort of, just, like, in awe of the fact that pretty much every streamer I watched was streaming for, like, 4 plus hours. And then it finally occurred to me one day, I remembered, like, one of my favorite gigs, the headliner was late, their flight got messed up, and I ended up spinning for, like, 2.5 hours, and it was one of the best times I've ever had, because I could go anywhere and the crowd was totally with it, and so, yeah, sometimes it feels like, in an hour or an hour and a half, you're just getting to the really fun part when it's like, "Meh," next DJ is, like, breathing down your neck.
Yep, that's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So yeah, it does. I guess with that, that being said, I always prefer to be the closer of any show, where if often, well, maybe the DJ got too drunk, or whatever the person that's going to relieve you, and then you can keep on going, or you
Yeah.
can even get an encore and keep on going. That was one of the
Mhm,
coolest things about DJing in Japan, in the clubs in Japan, is they stayed up open all night, mostly because the train stopped running at midnight and they didn't open up again
oh,
until about 5 in the morning. So if you were going to go out, or you would spend like a $200 cab ride home. I mean, it of
right.
course depends where you live, all that jazz. But yeah, if you were going to go out past midnight, you were going to go out
Yeah.
pretty hard. So yeah, my specialty was 3 to 4 or 4 to 5 in the morning. That was a lot of fun.
Okay, so 2 things. I wanna come back, the second thing is coming back to Japan. The first
Yeah.
thing is, uh, I know some people right now that are considering streaming, but are very nervous about it.
Mm.
Do you have any advice or, like, anything you wish you had known or, maybe, attitudes you wished you had adopted at the beginning? Something
I
that
think,
you
yeah,
wish someone had told you, you know?
I think that's a great question. I don't know if there's anything that but like any things that I like truly regret.
Mhm,
Well, first of all, I do, and it's a technological piece. I thought that I could just take RCA to my little 1/8 inch stereo jack and plug it into my computer and have that sound go in and it'd be fine.
mhm,
No,
mhm,
does not work. I mean, it will work technically.
mhm,
However, you're going to have so much fuzz and gain. I mean, like it's going to be bad.
mhm,
So definitely get invest in a an audio interface. It doesn't have to be very expensive. All it has to do is take the audio, either RCA or 1/4 inch stereo,
mhm.
to USB. Like that's all you need. And I think you can probably find something like that for $50. So invest in that so that you have a clean sound coming from your mixer.
Mhm.
Um, Other than that, I think don't overthink it. Just go live and start spinning.
Mhm.
If I definitely wanted to get the visual aspect down, and I spend a lot of time and energy in my overlay. And clearly I've got a fisheye lens here, and I even bought a cheap fisheye lens off of Amazon for $40. I don't know the model. I mean, basically, honestly, just look at like cell phone fisheye lens on Amazon, and you'll find it. Get a decent camera. If you're going to be talking, get a halfway decent mic. But
Mhm.
if not, just go ahead, set up a simple overlay, use Stream Elements, Streamlabs, whatever.
Mhm.
Ask for some help to get it set up, and just do
Mhm.
it. Don't
Yep.
spend too much time because it's never going to be perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, that'd be my advice. But yeah, I'm trying to think of like anything that I like wish somebody had told me. Yeah, just the audio interface.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely get the audio interface.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Guys, speaking of asking for help, I just put, a link up to the, 1134 Discord. No Use for Anger was kind enough to give me a channel on there, so if you wanna talk to me, you can do that, but he also has a channel called Streaming Help, and there's one for DJ Setup. So there's lots of people there that are really happy to invest their time in helping you understand how to make your stream better. There really are no stupid questions. They are tremendously generous. There is no gatekeeping whatsoever. So,
Yeah, it's true.
yeah.
I mean, we love helping and setting it up. In fact, I mean,
Mhm.
I think that's one of the things you really kind of have to do, like setting things up and streaming and broadcasting. You can do it pretty quickly, but I think that if you're going to be doing it a lot, you end up. Hopefully, you like it. Otherwise, it's going to be a serious burden. Um,
Right, right. Well, I was so happy, the other day because I'm so brand new to this and I'm using StreamYard, and I learned something and was able to help someone. So, like, you just never know who is a resource. And yeah, I mean, I think, anybody that is streaming for any length of time will tell you that, yeah, I wish, I had asked more questions. I really should have reached out more when these people were offering help for me. But, yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's a great place to go, guys. And I will just add to what you said because everything you said is great advice. The thing I will add as a very, fairly new streamer, um, just get started. Like, just start. It's not going to be perfect. Do not let perfectionism paralyze you on this. It is often a excuse to avoid failure, and failure is a part of success. So just start. You'll figure it out as you go along. You'll learn what works and what doesn't. And yeah, I wish I had started sooner because it's brought me a lot of joy and just the ability to like creatively express yourself is so energizing and stress relieving and yeah. So Uh, I know at least one person in this chat that needed to hear that, but if anybody
so
else does,
just
that's
do
good
it.
too. Just
Just
do it.
do it.
Be afraid and do it anyway. There
Who's
you
that
go.
actor that like had like a breakdown? He's like, just do it. I don't know. He's like
Is that Shia LaBeouf,
Yeah,
maybe?
dude. I was just like, he's got it right. He's not wrong, actually.
No,
And
he's
it's
not. He's
just
not.
do it. And
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That's all I could hear when every time I hear "just do it" now at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf,
Yeah.
creepy
Yeah.
dude, but
He's weird. He's
yeah, he's
he's
real weird.
he's out there.
But
But
you know what? He just did it.
well, and you know what? He just puts it out there, right? Like, I mean, yeah.
Yep. If
So,
you're
okay,
crazy, just let it out.
right? Like, I mean, let's be honest, like, none of us are totally sane. So, I mean, I do feel a little more comfortable around people that can, like, own their crazy. Um, but, uh, so tell me about how you ended up in Japan.
Sure. So, I mean, I don't think it's that crazy of a story, really, but I mean, I ended up studying English and philosophy in school. I really didn't know what I wanted to study in school.
Okay.
So that said, graduated in 2008, pretty much the worst time ever to have, an English degree, considering that, whole financial collapse, that whole thing. So I ended up
Mhm.
doing quite a lot of traveling. And ultimately, I thought, well, maybe I'll try my hand at being a teacher, try it out, see if I like it. So I ended up getting a job, in Japan, right out, like I was really in the suburbs of Tokyo.
Mhm.
Chiba Ken is the area. And yeah, so I just moved out there, and I really, all I had was like two suitcases, a backpack, and a Godzilla poster. Like that's literally all I had. I actually, yes, I literally had a Godzilla poster, and was the first thing I put up in my apartment when I got there,
That's
which is
amazing.
absurd. I'm absolutely ridiculous, but I didn't know
Yeah.
any Japanese either, so I,
Right.
um, yeah. So I mean, that's how I got there. Basically trying something totally new.
Mhm.
Yeah, it comes down to, yeah, definitely putting yourself outside your comfort zone. And this was in
Yes.
like the most extreme case. I don't necessarily suggest it for everybody.
Right.
But yeah, I did it. I survived, barely, but it was a wild ride. It was a
Yeah.
wild, wild ride.
Yeah.
So really glad that I
So
did it. It's the best thing I ever did, that I'll never do
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
How's that?
Well, you did it at the right time too. Like that's the kind of move that a young person without a lot of responsibilities to tie them down. It's a good thing for them. I think the older you get, the less sort of freedom you have in that regard. You have so many more considerations.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%.
like like spouse, kids, aging parents, the whole thing. But okay, so
Career, something, I don't know.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're lucky, maybe your career will, has an opportunity for you, somewhere. But yeah, I mean, I, yeah, you can't always just take time off from your main career and expect to come back to it later. Um, so I have to know, like, obviously, Asian culture and American culture, very different things.
Pretty
What was
much
that
opposite.
like? Yeah. So what was that like for you? Coming,
Uh
face to face with that.
Yeah, so I mean, American culture. I mean, I think most cultures, are 180 degrees opposite of,
Mhm,
the Japanese culture. So it was so shocking. I didn't even realize it, and I, even after spending a whole year there, I don't understand all of it.
mhm.
And I think I'm really just scratching the surface on in understanding. But that's it. I don't think it was ultimately for me,
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah.
I don't think they miss me. So, it's like, whatever. Um, but yeah, no, it was definitely very difficult. I mean, emotionally isolating, socially isolating to a degree. I mean, there's just this, first of all, language barrier, and yeah. Yeah, even if I knew fluent Japanese, I think it would have been quite difficult. But because I didn't, and I was learning it, I did. I did struggle for, quite some time, but ultimately, made some good friends.
Mhm,
Really good friends. Some of, my best
mhm,
friends still to this day. And yeah, and really poured my heart and soul into music and DJing specifically. And
yeah,
I didn't, and this is where I just started getting into producing.
okay,
I'd been doing a little bit before, here and there, but I mean, this was just kind of the early stages of my producer career, or passion, I should say. I shouldn't even say
mhm,
career because it's not what I do full time. But um, yeah, so there's a lot more to say, I think, on that. But
mhm,
at the end of the day, yeah, it was not easy, and the
yeah,
culture is so vastly different that you're not going to recognize it. And as an
mhm.
American, being a tourist there, you are going to get it all wrong. So don't even try to get it right, and they'll forgive you for it. Actually,
Yeah,
I think that's one of the coolest things about Japanese culture, is that they just simply accept that you don't know, and
mhm,
that's okay.
yeah.
So that's pretty rad.
So learn how to say "I'm sorry," or,
Yes.
something like that, and yeah.
Yeah, I think, just know, like, daijoubu desu, which is like, don't worry, no worries, that kind of a thing. Or like, it's okay is
Mhm.
probably one of the most used phrases ever. Of course, thank you, arigato
Mhm.
is
Yes.
great. Um,
Yes.
Sugoi is awesome. Like,
Mhm.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Nama biru, which is draft beer, like
That's an
that
important one.
yeah. Technically, nama is raw and biru is beer, so it's like raw beer, please.
Mhm.
So yeah, there you go.
Okay, so now I know that your involvement in electronic scene has not always been in drum and bass. And reading your little bio on your about page, it sounded like you weren't spinning drum and bass at your residency there in Japan.
Right.
So, before I ask you my next question, tell me a little bit about how you sort of hooked up with these other DJs and got to the point where, you know, you're a resident.
Yeah. Well, so just asking everybody and anybody about that spoke English, really, or that spoke both English and Japanese, if they knew of a place to DJ, and went one place to another. I really, went down the line. I think. Uh, it's definitely a complicated web, but at the end of the day, a friend knew a friend who knew a friend, and had linked up with that person and ended up hitting it off and playing a few free shows, and then and also gathering people. It was more than just a DJing thing. It was definitely the DJ promoter lifestyle. I mean,
Mhm,
you had to bring
mhm,
people in. In fact, the more people that said your name, the more money you made. So generally, yeah, I don't think it was necessarily the worst or the best system, but at the end of the day, if nobody came to see you, you weren't going to get any paid. You'd get a few free beers, but and
mhm,
you'd have a good time, but you wouldn't necessarily get paid. If 20 people came, you'd make some decent money. If 100
mhm.
people came, you'd make a lot of money. So
Nice.
I mean, it was just that kind of system. And I ended up bringing up a fair number of people, and so really it came into a residency, but really it was a group of us DJs that were bringing a lot of people together and have throwing an awesome party.
Nice. Nice. So what sounds were happening at this party and what sounds were you spinning?
Yeah, so this was back in 2009, 2010. So this was definitely what like the early side of or the earlier side of electro house. So
Okay.
this was definitely house music with a more punky, gritty sound. Definitely those super saws. I mean, you could say Dead Mouse was definitely part of that movement. So that time period, which quickly turned into the EDM phase of 2012 on.
Mhm,
And so this was really kind of, I really liked it because I was spinning this sort of stuff back in the states beforehand. In uh, a little bit in college and then right after college, and people just really loved it. They loved to dance, and it was usually really all about that. It was all about
mhm,
dancing really pretty hard, and so we just kind of kept that going, or I kept
mhm,
that going, and we all were. In on it, and that kind of evolved. I think with those guys over there in Japan are more into future house, that sort of a thing. So not really my style, my flavor anymore, but I liked it because people were there to rage and dance,
mhm,
just
mhm.
get it out. And
Yeah.
yeah, there was a lot of anxiety and stress that needed to be let out in my system, and
Mhm.
it was the perfect place and time to do it.
Nice. Nice. Now, so, DJ B903 asked, and I'm not sure if you have experience with this, but it was a good question, so I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Sure.
Um, did you have any involvement in, was there, like, a drum and bass scene that you had any involvement with there? And if yes, can you tell us a little bit about it?
So no, most of the people that I knew were I mean, from tech house, basically any genre of house.
Mhm.
House was really really big, and then I actually did start bringing in dubstep into the mix. So I was actually, some of my friends, it was like electro house step. I was mixing, electro house with like dubstep, and it was really pretty cool. Very experimental, in some ways, but I ended up. I mean, people really liked it because it was so different. So, but
Mhm.
that said, as far as drum and bass itself, no,
Mhm.
um, I I didn't see many people spin that. There was a little bit more. There were certainly hip hop DJs that were part of this crew,
Mhm.
um, but drum and bass was usually not included.
Mhm.
And I don't think I really thought about it much. It was more like, hey, this is the music that I'm playing, and this is the music that I can play, and
Right.
I've gotten in here, so let's do it. I went with the
Right.
flow, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, grab every experience you can, right?
Right.
Like, you know, life's too short. But DJB, it's a great question also because there is actually a lot of cool drum and bass coming out of Japan and like Asia larger right now. So I would definitely suggest you keep investigating that. Um, okay, Stitch Jones asks, do you miss living in Brooklyn?
Well, it's funny because I'm actually in a neighborhood in Brazil called Brooklyn, so I don't miss it. But I actually never lived in Brooklyn. I was in Manhattan and I was in Queens too. So Manhattan and Queens, but I spent a lot of time in Brooklyn. So
Mhm,
do I miss New York City? What it was, my memory of it, absolutely. I don't know what it's like now, so it's hard to say if I would really still miss it.
mhm,
But yeah, New York was home for a long time, and it's
mhm.
definitely hard to say bye for now. We'll see. We'll
Yeah,
see if I
yeah,
head back there. I'd like to,
yeah,
but
yeah,
got to go
yeah.
with the flow.
I've never been. I don't know if I could live there, but I do wanna, like, experience it at least once in my life. So, we'll see. I'm sure it's coming.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
We'll take it one step at
Okay.
a time.
Absolutely. We gotta survive all of this first, right? Nobody's going anywhere right now. Um, so let's rewind back. How did you, as a little old baby scam circuit, find
Hmm.
electronic music?
Phenomenal question. God, I think, oh man, I feel, I mean, what is electronic music, right?
It's
y- you
whatever
know,
you
I,
want it to be because it is
yeah, well,
everywhere.
I mean, let's see. Let's see. I mean, I'm 36 now, so I was born in '85, January of '85,
Mhm,
and that makes me pretty young for the drum and bass scene.
mhm,
Um, that said, I think I was maybe in fourth or fifth grade, like 10 years old. So
mhm.
we're talking like '95,
Right.
where honestly, my cousins were a couple years older. They were all most of them were girls, but well, actually, my cousins really showed me a lot of music.
Mhm.
And so my first experience with electronic music was actually Ace of Base, The Sign. So I'm going to
Hey.
go ahead and say it was like right there. That's actually what it was.
Mhm.
I mean, and that is house music actually. And
Yeah,
I
I'd say
can't
that.
say that I think that there's some tunes on that album. All right, but so that was my first, I think, experience with electronic music.
Mhm,
Now I think a year or two later, my another cousin of mine, about the same age, but he lived in Wisconsin, so I was in Michigan, and he bought me. I think it was for Christmas. He bought me Goldie's Timeless. I think right around
nice.
97, 98, and
Nice.
that was my jam. Like I played
Mhm,
this thing all the time, and it was so awkward because for my age group, we're like 12, 13,
mhm.
11, 12, 13, like, and I'm listening to drum and bass, and everybody's like, I don't know, what were they listening to? um like
I don't know. I was in college then, so yeah.
TLC, Scrubs, like what, like that's
Yeah.
I remember that came out right about that time. So anyway, yeah, but that was my introduction into drum and bass, and since then, breaks have been definitely a part of
Mhm.
my eclectic taste, for sure.
So would you say that, like, any sort of music with a breakbeat that's something that you really responded to?
I think, yeah, definitely the break beat itself. I mean, the amen, or any of the different
Oh,
breaks. It just it uh, even and actually, this is an interesting thing. I think that I can tell you that this definitely has a powerful effect on people, and especially me. Is that there was a video game called Half Life. I don't know if you've
uh-huh.
played it. I'm a
No,
huge
but I've heard
huge
of it.
I played a lot of that game, and there's one part in the original game that it's basically the first time you fight like some like soldiers that are coming to kill you, right? And
Right.
it's at this time it's totally blows Doom out of the water. I mean, it's an incredible game, right? But you're going up this like freight elevator, and this hardcore breakbeat just like kicks in, and then you're thrown into this warehouse, and there's like a military death squad coming at you. So it's this whole I don't know, it, it's still one of those moments in like gaming history for me, and it involved the breakbeat very heavily. So yeah, any music that has a breakbeat just has the energy that I totally crave nowadays, and
Yes.
I think always have. I think I've always resonated with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, okay, so you're like 11, 12. You've got Goldie's Timeless, which is, like, blowing my mind right now. Um, I yeah, because I was like 22, raver, gonna be a
Yeah, I know the
DJ
type.
soon. Yeah, yeah. Oh, and by the way, let me just say, like, you're not old for the drum and bass scene. There are plenty of young lists running around here that are actually younger than you. So,
It's true.
plenty of them that got involved even later than that. So, yeah, you're good. You're in that, like, sweet middle spot,
Yeah,
like, you're not a crusty old boomer yet like me, and, you can teach the young lists things, in a nicer way without telling them to get off your lawn.
yeah. That's
Um um, okay, so teenage you has this Goldie CD. Where do you go next? On your
well,
little
yeah.
journey through all of
My
this?
my musical journey is all over the place. I think. I mean, my father loved a lot of, I mean, my father's got a great vinyl collection, but not in the electronic music. I
Mhm.
mean, Boston, the self-named title
Yeah.
Boston is one of my favorite albums of all time. I mean, and that sound, I mean, it's so great. But I started playing the guitar in about fifth grade, and so like,
Mhm.
and I had this guitar teacher whose name's Razor Ray, or Ray Reyes, and he had,
Yes.
yeah, no, Razor Ray, in the Detroit area. If anybody's listening, you know who he is, because the dude is insane. But I learned. I mean, my first two guitar songs that I learned was one, "Come as You Are" by Nirvana, of course,
Yes.
super easy tune. But then "Fade to Black" by Metallica, and at that point, Metallica was just like it. I got all of the Metallica CDs. I was listening to Metallica. I was listening to like all sorts of music. So a little less on the pop side. I had friends that were into hip hop. Like Jay-Z, the Blueprint, like all of this, and
Mhm.
mix that with drum and bass, with Ace of Base and Bush. I don't know, like all the different like alternative rock, and then heavy metal. So the full gamut there. And then at the same time, I was in choirs. So I was singing, so choral music, classical, choral music, I suppose. So everything. I guess I was in the northern United States, so there wasn't that much country in my life. So it was basically everything except country.
Nice,
Yep,
nice.
that was me in the teenage years,
Okay, adulthood. When did
adulthood.
when did this when did this bug bite you?
Well, definitely in college was kind of a funny thing. I think college for me, I first got my own decent computer and had a high speed internet connection. Sure, there was actually a lot more file sharing really between computers on the network than there was internal external like external stuff. So
Right.
I was just inundated in all sorts of music. And at that point, it's just like listen and absorb and go through
Mhm.
it all and figure it
Mhm.
out. And heavy metal was a big thing for me. I mean, really pretty heavy metal. I had a heavy metal radio show in Bloomington, Indiana, called The Hour of Raw, and it was during primetime Friday, and it was just hardcore metal. But I was also spinning, and a lot of hip hop. I mean, DJ Shadow brought
Uh-huh.
in tons of break beats there. I
Yep.
mean, it was really all over the place, and so it was so much time was spent just experimenting and listening and trying to find me and
Yeah.
what I was, and that sounds like adulthood, right? Or young
Yeah.
adulthood.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm still trying to find
and
me
yeah,
somehow.
yeah, and at this point, I don't know if I would say that drum and bass 100% defines me. I don't think
Mhm.
that would. I think that'd be short selling many of us.
Mhm.
But I think drum and bass is so versatile, and the
Yeah.
community is so rich, that it is definitely not going anywhere. And I'm
Mhm.
really happy to have dove dive like headfirst into it all
Yeah.
over again. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I have this theory that the broader a DJ or producer's musical taste is, the better they are, even if they focus on a particular genre to DJ or produce in, because there's so much influence everywhere. So I love that you didn't necessarily start or just focus on drum and bass, because I'm sure all of that other stuff informs what you do now. Um, but so how did drum and bass grab you? Like, when did it bite you and how did it grab you?
I think I think it's always been there, like always boiling under the surface. And I think that faster beats and drums specifically, you hear a lot more in rock than you do in pop music. And so I think that that heavy metal vibe that was really pretty quick, pretty heavy, pretty crunchy, if you will.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean that fits the vibe.
Mhm.
So I think that it was definitely less of a bite and more of like a a slow creep. It was definitely yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it wasn't all of a sudden like, oh, drum and bass is it.
Mhm.
I was I just didn't know enough about all of the different types of and genres and of electronic music. Even when I was in Japan, I was just like listening to music and hearing things, and drum and bass and dubstep were mixed in there, and I was just like,
Mhm.
"Fuck it, I'm gonna go ahead and mix it in to this house track, and it's gonna be dope. Everybody's gonna love it. I'm gonna love it, and we're gonna have a great time."
Right.
So I think it was always there, and it. I think I kind of realized eventual. I don't know exactly when, but really kind of the time that I was kind of thinking about starting to stream again, and I was doing some sets here and there, some deep house. So I kind of went from
Mhm.
electro house and kind of chilled out to deep house, and then deep house is like still booming. And I
Mhm.
was like, I'm kind of bored here. I don't know. Like, I mean, I can do some really cool stuff here. I was tried producing it, and it's really difficult stuff. I mean, tech house
Mhm.
and deep house is some really difficult stuff to produce, which great experience, whatever. But I was kind of bored with it,
Mhm.
and then I was just like, well, I'm just going to go on to Twitch because I heard that you can DJ on there, and just start looking up DJs, and I found Tmox. Of course, it was
Nice.
actually I found DJ Bionic first, and then I found Tmox, and I was like, Tmox is just throwing down on some sweet, um, you know, uh, D&B tunes, and I think actually he was doing a liquid set, which he doesn't often do, I think. And
Mhm.
I was just like, dude, this just sounds great. I'm gonna investigate more. And I decided a while ago that I would kind of pick a genre, get some tunes, and
Mhm.
experiment with it. Of course, I didn't have very many drum and bass tunes, and I probably have a ton more tunes than I know I have. They're just buried somewhere in gigabytes of files. So that said, I
Yeah.
went on to like SoundCloud's top 100 free drum and bass tunes, and just
Mhm.
listened to a few. Some of them was like, oh, that's terrible. Like, I'm not downloading that.
Yeah.
And then some of it was like, okay, cool, and just got as much as I could and started spinning.
Mhm.
um, and then the more I got into it, I realized how versatile and how deep and how rich the culture is, and the music itself. I mean, you can go from, again, neuro to neurofunk, liquid, deep liquid, a vibey liquid, an energetic liquid, to jungle, old school jungle to new school jungle. I mean, you've got the clubby stuff. You've got absolutely everything under one roof, and you can so easily mix between them, and it's always interesting.
Yes.
And now I'm
Yes.
addicted to it because, like, I think I tried to do a house set the other day, or, yeah, actually I shouldn't say the other day, it was like other month. And yeah, I was just like, okay, I mixed, waiting for the
Now what?
song to be done. Let's I'm like, pretty sure you need medication to keep on doing this. So I think that's when the bug really bit me.
Mhm. You were like, "Oh, this can hold my attention a little longer," and, okay, so first of all, I just wanna get this out of the way. If I yawn, it's because I am on, like, an unbelievable amount of allergy medication right now. It is not because any of you are boring. You're all amazing and interesting. I love it. Um, so what's
No
different
worries.
about the experience of mixing drum and bass? Because let's be honest, I wanna talk about this later, but, like, what I think of as deep drum and bass, it's like, to the untrained ear, it is not
Mm.
necessarily the most interesting, music. So how does your mixing approach change?
Well, I think, I mean, there's definitely an EQ difference.
Mhm,
So that's definitely the case. Uh, yeah, so actual mixing. I mean, just the EQ mixing alone has to change. But I think, how does it really change? It's just faster paced.
mhm,
The drum and bass, vibe. I mean, they're usually not quite as long. I mean, some of them will be really long, but like, you look at off-world recordings tunes, some of them are like 7, 8 minutes long, and the thing is that their tunes, they're so good because they're long, but they keep you interested the whole time. I mean, it is
mhm,
just some really pro stuff. Most drum
mhm,
and bass tunes that I hear today, and I say most of them that are produced out there, not saying that all of them that are released on top labels, but a lot of the drum and bass that is released today, um, are very short, and they're only interesting for that amount of time. If you were to double it, triple it, like, come on, it would not stand on its own. So I think, the mixing, I don't think, I think that the mixing really comes down to finding the vibe, a little bit more. It's a little bit more important, excuse me, important, to have songs that kind of jive with each other, or
mhm,
complement each other, or juxtapose each other, depending on the feeling that you want to have.
mhm,
So really, my mixing, and or what I've how I've changed the way that I mix, is more on the planning side. And I don't want to say planning like I've mapped out each song, because honestly, I haven't mapped out a set in years.
right,
All of the song, I just go through my songs and I'm like, okay, cool. This, will it'll mix harmonically. It's,
mhm,
I haven't played too much of this artist, and we're gonna mix it in, and kind of go down. I don't want to say go down the line, but go down the archive,
right,
the full list of songs that I've rated to a point that actually can go into rotation. So I've
mhm,
definitely put more into the process of what songs I play, and also the process of sorting them into different subgenres, or different vibes at the end of the day because I think that there's so much overlap between subgenres. And I even get it wrong. I don't
Mhm.
know. I'm not God's gift to categorizing drum and bass, but if you want to see me try, you should check me out on my crate digging stream on Saturday. Shameless plug.
Yes. Yes, you guys really should because, uh, I've caught one of them. And it was so interesting to me to see how someone sort of because like, it is so easy with the size of hard drives today and the accessibility of digital downloads, how affordable digital downloads are. It's so easy to become, like, a hoarder of music and end up playing the same stuff because you don't really know what you have. So it was really interesting to me to listen to your approach when you're trying to make these decisions about how to categorize things in a way that you will be able to find them when you want them. Yeah, guys, I highly recommend it. It is absolutely it's absolutely fascinating to me that because I'm sure, what works for you isn't necessarily going to work for other people, but just learning the sort of thought process behind it, I think is really valuable. Yeah, I loved that. I really
I've,
loved it. I think it's a great idea.
I've
What
tried
made you
to put a method to the madness. Oh, go on. What was your question?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, what was your motivation to go, "You know what? I should really stream this."
Yeah. Well, I think it was kind of a New Year's resolution ish kind of a thing.
Mhm.
I mean, I've been streaming for how long have I been streaming for? Since about 2 years, a little over two
Okay.
years. And I mean, I don't think that I've bloomed to like this amazing like superstar of streaming DJ, but that's I'm part of a community. I'm doing what I love, and so I was like, okay, let's do more of what I love and stream it because I can. I've been doing it
Mhm,
for a while and just do it and see how it feels. And it was more along the lines of, okay, if I'm going to spend a bunch of time DJing
mhm,
or I'm going to spend, I'm going to be spending a bunch of time going through tunes, I might as well stream it and make it part of the content and part of the conversation and just have fun with it. Be more social actually about it
yeah,
too.
yeah,
I think that's why I decided to do it, and now I also decided to start the RPM challenge. So if you typed in RPM challenge into Google, you would see that it's basically a month of trying to make music. So
mhm,
this is all self-imposed challenge. I'm trying to make
mhm,
6 tracks this month, and that's a lot of time. I mean, minimum 9 to 12 hours each tune. I think is
mhm,
more or less the average time that I've been putting into it. So
mhm,
that's yeah, it's a lot of work. So
yeah,
I've decided to start streaming that. And actually, I found out that it
nice,
actually focuses me because sometimes I make kind of a whip or a work in progress, and I like it, and I'm just like, oh, this sounds good. I'm just gonna listen to it again, and I just get in this cycle of just listening to this 2 minute thing, and just because I like it, it's stimulating, and it's releasing serotonin, into my
mhm,
brain, over
mhm,
and over and over again. But I'm not actually being productive. So in this case, this is driving me to be even more productive.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
I
and,
think that's what motivated me.
I could see it eliminating distractions a little bit too because you've, like, committed to, "I am in front of the camera, this is what I told people I was gonna do," you know? Yeah, I'm doing the RPM challenge too. I think it's a really cool challenge, especially because, it sort of forces you to go, "Okay, I've worked on this, that one's done, I'm putting it away, I'm doing something different." Um, uh, uh, Pagan DB asks, "What's RPM?" I can't remember what it stands for, but if you
I mean,
Google RPM challenge, you will find it.
yeah,
Is it
it's
record producing month or recording producing month
I think
or
it's
something like that?
yeah, recording producers month or yeah, record
Yeah,
yeah, something.
something like that.
It stands for something.
Yeah, and it's like a super loose challenge, which is great. Like the people on their Discord are super cool,
Super
and
cool.
you can find people to collaborate with if that's something that you want to do. And you sort of set the challenge for yourself. you pick how many songs you wanna do, do you wanna do, like a EP length? Do you wanna do an LP length? Do you wanna do one thing? But, even if you don't hit it, it's not, you know, the it's about the exercise of it, um, makes you, it forces you to kinda get in the lab and just sit down and be productive,
Yeah, and I
which
really feel like the internal challenge of saying, "Hey, I'm going to do this," is definitely a big motivation. But then,
Mhm,
yeah, streaming it is another thing. It's like, okay, hey, we're here. I've got to make this tune, and I'm going to start from scratch, and it's going to be real boring. So, like, let's get this going, and you end up
mhm,
being that much more productive. Um, and I think sometimes I do some things off stream, of course, but I'm
mhm.
getting into the groove of doing like a 3 hour session, and that's a pretty long session, I would say.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
Today I was pretty tired after the end of my session, but
yeah.
yeah, just practice makes perfect, so
Yeah, and are you just
just
focusing
do it.
on one tune in those, 3 hours?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, actually, you guys can definitely hit up my channel and then look at my videos, and then you can see the whole process that I have, which I've also been kind of explaining. So it's not just me just going at it. I'm talking about what I'm doing, and things
Mhm,
like that. So it's definitely a lot of. I could probably work a little faster if I didn't
mhm,
do that, but now I've gotten into the flow of it, and again, it's made me more productive because I realize that I have to talk about something and I have to do something and keep moving to make it an interesting stream. But
yeah,
that's it. So what am I doing? I'm actually cutting things up into different sessions.
okay,
Basically, each song is going to be into 4 sessions because I'm going to be mixing and mastering it myself. I may, if I got a song that's good enough, and I'll just keep the stems and send them out to somebody else.
mhm,
But the first one is basically it's a 3 hour session, and you basically have to have it 80% arranged. You've got your work in progress, your basic main piece, and you'll start working on transitions. You should have all the pieces laid out there, 80% minimum, laid out, 3 hours.
mhm.
Take a break,
Wait,
and yeah. Oh,
so
go on.
within the 3 hours, you get from, like, 0 to this, like, 80%. Okay,
Right.
okay.
And then the second session's basically refining that. So finish
Mhm,
critically listen to it, take stuff out, because you usually in that first session you're kind of adding in, fill in, fill in, fill in, fill in, and then you look at it
mhm.
again. You're like, let's take that out. That didn't sound good, and
Yeah,
just take it out and keep going. And then you go into what I'd say, like adding your own flavor to things, go into the details, do all the transitions and fills, and then you've got basically your song. And at that point, I always tell people to, and what I'm doing now is I export the song and I listen to it on as many systems as I can. These
mhm,
headphones, car stereo, whatever you can get your hands on, play it through. Take notes, and then you go into the third session, which is usually about 2 hours, I want to say, because you'll finish your detailed pieces, you'll mix it, and not,
mhm.
I'm not saying you master it. You'll do some
Right.
pre-mastering, cut out some terrible sounding frequencies that are clashing, things like that. But you're going to spend a lot more time in the mixing
Mhm,
portion of this. Again, render your stems, and just rendering the stems, just taking that time to render the stems is going to take some time. I think there's some automatic exporting you can do, but generally it doesn't work with every single workflow.
mhm,
So all of that's going to take you about 2 hours. And then you should basically, again, listen to it. You can probably send it for feedback if you want to at that stage, but then you come back for your, 1 hour, you're going to master it,
mhm,
make it sound good, and then move on to the next.
mhm,
So, basically you're looking at about 9 hours. And you should have a track,
mhm.
something like that.
Yeah,
At least that's what I'm trying to implement now. Whether or not it will be 9 hours on the dot, it's not going to be, but that's the method I'm
yeah,
trying to push on through.
yeah. Okay, so, you and I talked, and you've been doing producing sort of, like, off and on for 10 years, right?
That's right.
Um,
Yep.
how did you sort of arrive at this, like, um, this sort of like approach and like as far as sections. And oh yeah, real quick first, how much of a break do you take between sessions?
I like to take a day is
Hmm.
probably best, at minimum a day.
Right.
With the mixing and mastering between those two sessions, at least half an hour. I would say at least an hour. Really,
Hmm.
you got to give your ears a rest.
Yes.
Some people think that the fatigue is a real thing,
Yes.
and yeah. So in this case, I'm trying to do it when it feels right, when you're kind of ready to. I think I give each session about a week, and I kind of do session one on 3 tracks, and then go into the
Hmm.
session two of that first track, and then kind of mix in from there on the newer tracks, and
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I know for me, like, I tend to get in a zone and then I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do myself a favor and I'm gonna put this away for like at least a day. And then, that next day, if it's a couple days, I come back and all of a sudden, whoa, I did not hear this thing at all. This other thing was a problem. Definitely that fatigue and that like forest for the trees situation seems very real to me at
yep.
this point. Um, yeah. Uh, so how long did it take you, like, in your producing to come to this, like, workflow that, obviously really works for you?
I think that this time around, I just kind of had to set up some process because it's a lot of work. I've got a lot of other things going on, in life, and 6 tunes, that takes some serious time. But I did
Mhm,
learn, and actually, the very first time that I ever started making a tune with somebody was with DJ Vivid, who was the one of the guys, the main guy. Uh, Turned on productions, I think it was, in Japan. So he's still around. I mean, DJ Vivid. He produces quite a lot of future house. He's a great guy. But I went over to his place. I got horribly lost on the way there, mind you. The first time, I mean, horribly lost. And of course, again, I'm trying to, like, my broken Japanese, trying to get to this guy's apartment on, like, the other side of Tokyo. So long story short, he was like, "Okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna produce a track." And I was right with him, and he was like, "So, the goal is to have something. You should basically have your track in 3 hours. Like, that's what all of the producers do." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Let's do it." And in 3 hours, we had about 80% of a fleshed out track. Of course,
mhm,
nothing was complete there. We were using loops and all sorts of different things. I don't think you know our tool set was smaller, but his tool set was clearly greater than mine.
mhm,
Um, so just thinking of that, I basically said, okay, generally speaking, from my past experience of just kind of going through and making a track, it's about 12 hours,
mhm,
and I wanted to try to shorten that up
mhm,
in a focused kind of a thing. So, and I saw somebody in the RPM challenge Discord post something about their workflow, and it was very similar to mine. So I kind of picked up theirs and literally made a PDF, and it actually talked about it today in my production stream. So you guys can all check that out if you want to hear it and see it. So definitely took what they had and kind of made it my own. So it was a little bit different than theirs, but very
Nice,
similar. It was very similar.
nice,
So that's how I've put in and made that methodology.
awesome. I'm gonna have to talk to you about whether I can get my hands on that PDF. Um, I'm
Yeah, no
always
problem.
looking for, things.
$10 digital download. This is yeah.
Alright, I'll be taking this VOD down. Um,
Yeah.
I kid,
Head
I
over to my
kid.
website and pick up some sweet
Yeah,
merch and get that
exactly,
PDF for $10.
exactly. Just have to give
Yeah.
me a tip on my
Yeah,
next
just
live stream.
tip me, bro.
Yeah, host, sub, and tip. Okay,
Yeah.
Intake asks a good question. Drums or melody first?
Intake D&B. By the way, we got some off-world
Mad.
recordings homies
Yeah.
in here. Big ups, fellas. Um,
Yes.
and I don't
Yeah,
know if
guys,
there's any.
let's just plug
Big shout out to
first.
you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Off-world recordings, get into it. Intake D&B, get into it. Secret Structures, get into it. Secret Structures just had an EP come out on Off-World Transmissions
It's
on
amazing.
February 2nd.
So good.
Um, he all of these guys are incredible, and do not listen to their bullshit because that's all they do. Um,
They are
yeah.
hilarious, by the way. They are a tight
Yes.
knit crew. They
Yes.
they have their own inside toxic comedy with each other. It's hilarious, actually. They are they're so brutal to each other, but
I yeah.
it's all in the love, though. I think it's funny.
I love nothing more than, like, a good recurring inside joke. I do not know the Windex joke at all, and
I don't know. I mean,
it still kills me because they're on it all the time.
they are
Um,
hilarious because
yes.
they often, I do play a lot of off-world recordings because it's pretty deep, vibey, liquid drum and bass on my Wednesday show, Wet Wednesdays, and so the chat is just like a giant off-world recordings inside joke sometimes, and I'm just like smiling and nodding. it's, it's very funny. Yeah, they're phenomenal producers, all of them. And so, yeah, I mean, intake DME, great question. The I start with the drums. I got to have that structure to propel me forward. I don't think I've ever started with a melody, or not usually. I think
Mhm,
if I actually am playing an instrument, then sometimes I'll play the melody first and then kind of fit drums to it. But I haven't done that in a really long time. So
mhm,
um, yeah, my workflow is get the drums, or at least like very basic drums, like just get
mhm.
something there, just get the kick and the snare, and then everything else is built upon that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Tell me
you
I'm
need
wrong.
a
Tell me I'm wrong.
I mean, I'm a noob, so I tend to get, inspired by, like, some sort of sample, be it, like, a melody or a vocal sample or something like that,
Hmm.
but I usually do still find myself working with drums first, most of the time, because I love them, and
Yeah,
that's the part I'm most confident with, is the drums. Everything else, I'm like, "I don't know what I'm doing," you know?
yeah. I think, well, it is kind of a combination of it, at least from what I've seen. Get the basic drum parts out there, so you do have some sort of structure driving you.
Mhm,
You could use the metronome to do that, but it's I don't know, like that. I don't like using the metronome. It's just
yeah,
not my style. Um, but then going in deeper, you get the basic drums, structure there, and then you bring in the break beat, the amen break that you want to layer over. So you can do that later or earlier. I don't necessarily. I wouldn't say that I have all of the drums completely fleshed out,
mhm.
um, but I start with the drums.
Awesome. Okay, so Grind and Fool asks, what software do you prefer? So I guess what's your DAW, and maybe if you want to tell us any other stuff you're using.
Sure. Yeah. So I use Ableton Live, and I used Ableton Live because I was really introduced to that. Back in Japan, and that's when I first bought it.
Mhm,
Yeah, I think it was Ableton 8, maybe 7. I don't even remember
mhm,
now. But yeah, I really like Ableton. I haven't used anything else DAW wise in a long time. I originally started way back when on Sony Acid Pro, and then went into Pro Tools, and
mhm,
then but Pro Tools really felt, and then I think I was on what is this, like Cakewalk or something like that. I needed something to record on, and then way back when I didn't have a working, uh, I think my hard drive crashed or something like that, and I lost Acid Pro. So yeah, ended up getting Cakewalk or something like that, and
mhm,
then went deeper into Pro Tools, and it was really primarily mastering
mhm,
stuff. Like making music with it was just so clunky. And that's where I got into Ableton and learned a few different workflows, some of which I still use, some of which I don't. And yeah, I mean, Ableton's just super easy to get jump right into and start
Mhm.
creating. Ableton for that. For DJing, I used Virtual DJ for the longest time. I get so much flack for this to this day. I used virtual because I mean I had that. Of course, I had turntables. I mean they were really terrible turntables and like a Vestex mixer when I first started spinning back in like 2004, 2003. But I had virtual DJ because it was. I mean, and I bought it and it was super powerful. And so I used that for a really long time. And then also when I moved to Japan, I didn't have my turntables, all of this different stuff. So I just took my laptop, and that's what I could use. And of course,
Mhm.
everything at the club, I could connect right to it and use it. So
Mhm.
use that for a really long time. I just recently switched over to Tractor specifically because, in about 2 years ago, I did this because Virtual DJ wasn't continually developing their DVS support, their digital vinyl
Mhm.
system support. So had a lot of glide, had a lot of it just wasn't as tight as I needed it to be. So yeah, switched over to Tractor and have been using Tractor pretty much ever since. But Tractor's due for a proper update. That is for sure. So
Yeah.
I would love to use Record Box, but I refuse to pay a monthly subscription. Pioneer, I'm
Yeah.
very upset with you. I'm very upset with you, Pioneer.
The subscription model makes me so angry.
No
Just, like,
bueno.
angry, not just like, I'm not gonna do that," but, like, actually angry. That's one of the
Yeah,
things that's one of the reasons that the DDJ 400 is actually attractive to me is, A, because it's totally entry level, and B, because it comes with an actual license as opposed to the monthly fee structure, which is total bullshit. Pioneer, if you're listening,
yeah, I know.
garbage.
It's so funny. Some of these product managers, I really don't think are very good product managers because they don't listen to their users.
Mhm.
There's two of them that I can think of. One is from Blizzard Entertainment. If you're familiar with Diablo 3 or Diablo 4, and they came out like 2 years ago. They were like, we're going to make a mobile game, and everybody's like, oh, are you serious? Like your whole user fan base is totally not okay with this. And the guy is up there on stage, and he's like, oh, what? You guys don't have phones? And I'm like, oh my god, worst product manager ever. Are you kidding me? And so basically, the guy that, or the product manager for Pioneer, basically did the same thing. He was like, "Listen, if you don't want it, you don't have to buy it. Or like you don't have to use it, or something like that. Like we're ripping the band-aid off, and that's that." And I was
Mhm.
like, "You clearly did not listen to your fan base at all, and maybe it'll work out for you for a little while, but." Methinks that's not going to go for very long. We'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Ugh. God. I don't wanna think about it. I don't wanna think about a freaking, uh, pay subscription model. It makes me so mad.
Yeah, there's enough of that. I don't need it.
Yeah.
Not gonna
Everything
do it.
has to be stupid subscription mode. Like, God, you can't buy software without subscribing anymore. You can't, buy apps on your phone anymore. Rude. Yes, you're right,
Yeah,
intake. That's what greed does. Absolutely.
it's true.
Absolutely.
And I think it's
Um,
really hard for a lot of people who are also beginning because this whole thing of like, oh, okay, $12 a month isn't that much. I can start this way. But the thing is that when you're starting, it doesn't mean you're going to be like full on 100%. Like, yes, we're never going to stop. And especially with DJing, you're going to be using it a little bit here and there, and you're going to be learning here and there. You don't need to be spending money every single month to be, to have access to it. And I just think that that's ridiculous. I mean, maybe
I
if you're like a total pro and you need some super duper hefty development software that a very few people are going to use, then okay, I can sort of see this model working. That you're making enough money to like justify it, but yeah.
It's $12 a month?
No, I think, but there are like I was thinking more like along the of like any like Adobe product, which is infamous for their subscription model. But you
Yes.
could also buy it outright. You can buy the license outright, but it's also
Right.
extremely expensive. So I think
Yeah.
it's like 6 or 7,
They're like freaking Rent a Center now. Can I, like, rent to own my software, please? Um, I
right?
mean, that's the other thing about the subscription model that drives me crazy is you never actually own anything. It's, like, worse than a car lease. Um, okay, let me scroll back here because I wanna make sure I haven't missed anything. And I will also say thank you so much to Grind and Fool for your sub. I really appreciate that, and to Looptron for your sub. For my new follows, you guys are awesome. Um, really appreciate all of you. I appreciate you honestly for just showing up so that people will still want to come on the show and talk to me because that's what I really like. And I'm glad everybody's having fun. Um, okay, it looks like maybe we got all the questions. Does anybody else have any questions? Chime in. We're getting close to the end, and he and I can
Ask me.
go,
You may never get this
forever.
chance again. You may never get
Exactly.
this chance again.
Never, never. You may
Never.
never get to hear him again. He told me he was burning his mic.
It's over.
It's over.
It's
It's
over.
done. Um, uh, intake. Okay, you're waiting on me to play my music stream. Well,
Yeah.
if you had been here for the pre-roll, you would have heard two of my tunes, and there will be one on the outro. But obviously, you're not going to hear the whole thing. So yeah. Um, but there's the link to my SoundCloud. It's all up there. Um, oh, okay. What's your favorite breakbeat? That's a good question.
Ooh. I don't think. I mean,
It's hard to pick.
probably the think break.
Ding ding. Yep, me
I
too.
think that's probably my favorite. But I kind of like them all. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
say that I really, really, really like them all. But the
yeah,
think break is just what's up.
yeah. Well, because really, there's like five in, there's like five think breaks, and then of course variations of that. Um, uh, guys, I just put a link in the channel to um, uh, uh, a video that Beers and Beats PDX did on the think break. And as you can see, Grind and Fool, if you want my answer, learn about the best break in history. So that's my opinion on the think break. Although I will say the think break and the amen are like peanut butter and jelly. They are like meant to work together in tandem. They're like wonder twin powers. The sum is greater than the parts when you put them together. So
Definitely.
yeah. Um oh, you don't know the name of the amen variation that's your favorite. Oh, there's so many. Um there's so many Grind and Fool yeah, and I don't know the names for all of them. I'm honestly surprised if I had actually named one. I mean, I can name some now, like, the terrorist break is phenomenal. Um, there's a lot of good ones. Um, oh, you like hot pants? Are we talking about breaks still, Secret Structure? I'm not sure if we're still talking about breaks.
Yeah.
Um, I hope that funky drummer worked out for you, by the way. That would make me feel really special if that worked out for you since, I don't know jack. Um about anything. So yeah, if I gave you a sample you could use, that would be amazing. Oh, yeah, I know what I wanted to ask you about. So this came up when we were doing our little pre-session. Um, you're welcome, Secret Structures. Absolutely, anytime. Whatever I can do to help. Um, uh, you guys help me a lot. So thanks. Speaking of that and help, you mentioned like the importance of mentoring for production. You want to talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure. I mean, I think for me, I don't think it's been pretty difficult to find a mentor, or I think actually, yeah, when we started talking about that, that was really along the lines of sending feedback. Oh, when do you send feedback? Who do you send feedback to? Or, something along
Mm,
those lines. And I generally don't send for feedback that much. And I think I mean, it has a lot to do with like moving around a lot, and then just so much change, and all the
mhm,
different people, like a lot of the people that I'm interact with are DJs more than they are producers. So, and then like the friends that are interested or like are willing to help, they really don't have the um ability to say anything critical or honestly helpful, other than like this
mhm.
motivational thing of like, oh, sounds good, man.
Right.
Like, wow, thank you so much. Or there are some people that are just really, really into it, or really, really good,
Mhm.
that are really bad at providing feedback. So they're just like,
Mhm.
"You're using the wrong kick." Like that's it. I'm like, "What? What? How? Like why?" Mentoring, I think, is something that you're always kind of looking for, and but at the end of the day, you really have to have confidence in yourself and what you do and what you love.
Mhm.
And if you want to conform, or kind of try to squeeze into something, and I'm not saying that this is bad by any means. There's
Mhm.
definitely a reason. Survival of the fittest doesn't have to be mean fit as in physically fit, but that
Mhm.
you fit in a specific ecosystem, whatever that is.
Mhm.
So, if you want to sell hella records, and like, you should get in with some guys at Hospital Records or something like that, and listen to what they have to say and do it, because
Mhm.
they're what they've done is working.
Right.
So, but yeah,
Right.
mentoring, I think, is uh I mean, for me, I mean, I don't think I've had too many people ask. When I'm always happy to give advice. I can
Mhm.
tell you that much, and suggestions. Um, and now I think I'm finally coming to a place here where, I mean, there's enough people that are quality enough and have the time, and the energy, and the willing to take a chance, or at least even take the time to listen to my work, and
Yeah.
that's a really pretty cool feeling. But
Yeah.
for a long time, I think you have to really have a certain level of confidence and independence in yourself, and just
Mhm.
keep on keeping on,
Yep.
because most people are going to tell you something, and a lot of people are going to tell you something to kind of shut you down. I think that that's what I've realized most of the time. Not everybody, but
Mhm.
I don't know why, but and that's definitely defeated me in the past. But I think
Mhm. Mhm.
you're cool when you just do whatever you want, like
Yeah.
Prince. Prince is the
Yeah.
coolest dude on the planet because he did whatever the fuck he wanted to.
Well, and that's why he made such incredible, innovative music that we are still looking at today, that we are still impressed with today, is because he just went his own kind of way. Okay, so yeah, now I know where I can send my tracks to for feedback.
Yeah.
um,
Well,
I
feel
mean,
free to send them to me.
yeah,
And yeah, let me know if I can play them on stream, and
yeah.
we'll
Oh
play them.
God. Oof. Yeah, no, you'll have to oof, you don't say that, you haven't heard him yet. Um,
I heard them on the
uh,
pre-roll. They're pretty good.
uh, um, but, yeah, not I think the hard part really too is that if someone asks you for feedback, you wonder if the person actually wants feedback, or, like, wants the kind of
Mm,
feedback that you would like. So, like, I mean, I think people maybe tend to give the kind of feedback that they would want, or are timid because they're not sure whether somebody really wants to hear,
well, yeah.
actual detailed feedback.
I mean, you'll know when you found somebody good when they give you critical feedback, but they also give you some suggestions on things to try.
Mhm,
Not just the
mhm,
critical, like, "Oh, you need to fix this." Okay,
mhm.
how do you fix this? What would you suggest I do to make this better? And that's when you know you found the right person.
Right.
Is that they can say, "Yeah, well, this isn't working for me. It might work for you." I mean, and they're not like um, being mean about it, but they'll say, "This needs work, to be honest." And but here, do you have this? Try this. And that's how you know you've got somebody worth
Mhm.
sending something to.
Yeah, yeah. Mike and Tate gave me some of the best feedback I've gotten so far, which was in that it was very detailed, like, so it actually pointed to things that I could understand. It was specific, but it was the kind of feedback, like, I thought the tune was finished, and then he gave me the feedback, and it was the kind of feedback that it didn't discourage me, it made me wanna go back and get back into it, which that's a good place to be, um,
I I think there's
there.
also, as you're growing, and you will compare yourself with some really amazing people that have been doing it for really long, and they're super super talented. I think it's worth to say, okay, well, I tried, it's not there.
Mhm.
You can really kind of come back to it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Label your channels and your tracks so that you know what's what when you come back to it.
Mhm.
But just say, okay, well, I tried, it didn't hit the mark. That's okay. Let's move on to the next. It's okay to do that. In fact, I think you should. And again, practice makes perfect. Be deep, but be productive, and just do it.
Yeah.
Shia style.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really a good one, intake. Lesson learned for me is don't compare yourself to others. Yeah. Yeah. So,
I
yeah,
think.
first of all, one of my favorite quotes of all time is
Yeah.
comparison is the thief of joy. And
Mm.
if you do not believe that, you need to look into it more because that shit is fully the truth. Like, absolutely.
Yeah, I think for me, sometimes comparison can be a motivator. At the same, but by taking away my joy, so that I then motivate myself to go to a place where I'm happy again. Um,
Right, right.
maybe that's the way I operate to a degree.
Mhm,
And I think, but comparing is a very useful thing when, especially when you're learning and you're trying to learn new tools and new
mhm.
skills, because somebody's already done it before you.
Yeah,
So, compare your sound with theirs and try your best to emulate it. Don't copy it. That's not what I'm saying.
right,
I'm saying,
right,
try to
right.
be able to make it, try to,
Mhm. Well,
so that you can put it in your pocket so you can use it on your own stuff.
right, right. Yeah, I think for me and intake, you'll have to tell me if I'm reading you wrong on this, but, for me, what I have struggled with is especially being on Airstrike's Discord, right, with, like, all of these incredible producers, with insane releases, insanely qualified. It's like a heart-pounding experience to put something up and go, "Hey, will you look at my little turd that I don't know if it can be polished?" Um, I think for me, what the place I finally had to get to was my stuff is gonna sound like I'm a new producer because I am a new producer. It is not gonna sound the way that these guys who've been doing this for all of this time sound, and that doesn't mean I shouldn't keep going, but
There's kind of a classic meme, and it's the Batman and Robin. I think it is Batman slapping Robin or something like that. I think that's the meme, and Robin's saying something like, "Oh, we'll fix it in the mitt," and then Batman's like, "Well, we'll fix it now." That sort of thing, and um, just slapping him as he's saying, "We'll fix it in the mix." I think, yeah. I don't know why exactly that reminded me of that, but yeah, you'll end up not having it right away, and but move on. And some things you just can't fix. You can't fix it in the mix. It'll
Mhm.
never sound good because you didn't start off right,
Right.
and that's kind of a difficult thing to feel, because you end up feeling like, oh man, I've got to kind of build this castle in the sky before I can do anything.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, you've got to build a whole bunch of really crummy sandcastles before you can build that castle in the sky, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I think that's fair, like, um, uh, you know, artists draw many ugly hands before they finally get to, really good ones with nice light and shadow balances and things like that. I mean, theoretically, I've never been an artist, so, I've drawn nothing but bad things. Um, um,
I've been there too.
yeah, yeah. So God, we've ended up talking all about production. But I'm kind of glad because I do think that people need to know more about your production streams. And it seems like I don't feel like production streams get as much love as they should on Twitch.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, it's definitely a harder thing to make entertaining. I think that unless I was really interested in trying to figure out, like, how somebody did something and like try to learn, you probably learn. But I don't know
Mhm,
if somebody would keep on coming back to my stream.
mhm,
They might. Um, I'm doing it just to do it. It's certainly lowered my average viewer count.
mhm,
But whatever. It doesn't, it doesn't matter to me now. Might as well do it now,
mhm.
until when maybe someday it actually matters.
Right,
Um,
right.
but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess what surprises me about it is that there are so many bedroom producers right now. Like, there are so many people who are just taking up production right now, and maybe I'm the weird one because I'm like, "Okay, I'm a sponge." Like, even if I don't fully understand what's being talked about, I can understand some of it, or I might remember it later, or even if I don't necessarily wanna make the kind of music that this person is making, I wanna learn about the tool, and so I can learn about the tool from them, you know? But
that is true. And I think, yeah, I think YouTube's a little bit better for that sort of thing where you're doing tutorials.
Mhm.
I think, I'll probably keep these videos and see if I see something cool or, I actually say something intelligent. I'll just clip it and then put it up on YouTube. Um,
There you go.
like that's,
There you go.
um, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean
it's fun though. It's a
yeah,
challenge. It's new.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't even know that it has to necessarily be a tutorial. I think you can just learn by watching someone do what they're doing and sort of tell you what they're doing or like why they're doing it. But I don't know. I'm really like a sort of learn by doing person. So I guess watching people do it is helpful for me. Maybe not for everybody, but yeah.
I mean, I think so. I think I would have found this very beneficial back in the day to have just watched somebody create a track from beginning to end, and I saw a few and it was really helpful, but it was very simple. It was too simple, and I
Mm,
wanted to see something a little bit more complex, and I think they were trying to do something in under like an hour. Like that's what they were trying to make a full song in like an hour, and using loops and stuff like that. It was very basic, and they had it all staged and ready to go. They
right.
almost looked pre-planned, like they had already done this before.
Right.
And so, yeah, but I think, I mean, it was helpful, but it felt too produced,
Hmm.
and so it wasn't as helpful. And some of the, it's sometimes hard to find good tutorials. And again, when you're trying to make a specific sound or something, try to search for that. try, try to search for like a specific sound can
Hmm.
be very difficult. So
Hmm.
I think just watching somebody start something from beginning to end, like they would, well, like I am. In their apartment, that would have been pretty helpful for me too.
Yeah, yeah. Like, I just wanna learn how you use, the DAW. I mean,
Yeah.
it honestly doesn't even matter what style you're making if you just wanna learn what it's capable of, what it's capable of doing. Um, ooh, intake. This is a potentially controversial question, I like it. Does using loops make you less of a producer? And if so, is sound design more important?
Well, great question. I mean, I mean, uh, jungle and drum and bass is sample culture. So,
Mhm,
you're going to be, I mean, kind of depends, where you're coming from. I think, some people will definitely point out that, the higher you go, the more necessary it is to be unique. So by making your own sounds and things like that is very important. But I think at the end of the day, having your own flavor, your own spice, if you will, into a track, an overall sound is going to be more valuable than whether it's a loop or not. You can still manipulate that loop to a point where it sounds like you. Um, I don't know if it makes you or me or anybody more or less of a producer. Um, and I don't think that either is more important than the other. I think the most
mhm.
important thing is making music that resonates with people and elicits and invokes emotion. If you can do that, then it doesn't matter how you do it.
Yeah, yeah. I'm into
Mic
that.
drop.
I'm into that. Yes, that was a good answer. Very good answer. Okay, grind and fool. What's your favorite controller, either for mixing or for MIDI?
Well, controller. So I have the what is it? The DDJ XP1, which I use, which is a huge pain in the ass to use with Tractor, and I use that occasionally. I mean, it can, I mean, you've got buttons to hit effects. I've got some plans to go. I'm actually going to be routing all of my sound from Tractor into Ableton, out of Ableton into my mixer, and then out to you guys. So basically, I'll be using that. Yeah, oh yeah, I've got it set up now. That's how I set up all my streams. So I have three total sound cards. One is for the DVS, one is for the exchange between the DVS and Ableton and into the mixer, and then into the mixer into the computer. So I've got three different audio interfaces here. And so what I want to do is I'll end up having the DDJ XP1 manipulating specific VSTs. I think stutter edit, isotope stutter edit is what I want to leverage. So basically, just be doing a whole bunch of glitchy stuff. So that's as far as the controller. As far as any other types of controller, I mean, I really like using DVS. So having turntables is huge. Um,
Mhm.
and going from there. So really, any two turntables that work and that are
Mhm.
steady, and then whatever mixer I can get my hands on.
Mhm.
I don't think I know of any of the other mixers or controllers,
Mhm.
to be honest. Um,
Do you use a MIDI controller, like an external MIDI controller
oh,
in your production?
in the production, I just use a keyboard. I tried
Okay.
to use the Akai APC 40, and I actually bought the new one because I thought I was going to be doing some live stuff, and ended up not doing so much live stuff. And then the pandemic hit, so and I just felt like it was slowing me down. I'm sure that
Mhm.
there's a point where I could kind of live flow and stuff like that, and probably be that much more productive in producing.
Mhm.
But I think at this point, like I'm more of an arranger, if you will.
Mhm.
I do most of my work in the arrangement view in Ableton, rather than the live view,
Mhm.
or the trigger view.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't really use as many controllers.
Mhm.
My favorite controller is the keyboard and mouse.
Yeah, there you go.
That's
There you go.
that's what's up.
Um, okay, so Grinding Fool has another question. Big up Grinding Fool for hooking us up with all these questions.
Yeah, I know,
That's the
right?
wrong one. Have you ever done a live set with Ableton?
I have, and it's pretty difficult. I think that it's just not as intuitive. In some ways, I feel like there's a huge market for Ableton to jump into by making it a lot easier for DJs to DJ with it. Um,
Mhm.
but I have, and
Mhm.
yeah, pretty wild and a little bit more planned. It definitely felt a lot more
Yeah.
planned.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's why I don't like it. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's why I prefer
Yeah.
Tractor or any of the other softwares, really.
Mhm. Okay, so now I'll get to a question I've asked somebody before, but I still find the potential answers really interesting. So, one of the things for me when I got on Twitch was like it was hard to know how to be a listener because, in a club setting, I know I can show that I'm enjoying what the DJ's doing by dancing, by, making noise, lighter, whatever it is. Um, and obviously, I can't do that with Twitch. So for you as a DJ, what was it like to try and, sort of read a crowd through this like text medium for you?
Yeah, I think it's pretty tough. And I think that you have to remember that people that are on Twitch are not necessarily actively engaged listening to you. Listening to you. It might be very well in the background.
Mhm.
I do a ton of work lurking, a ton of it.
Mhm.
And there's so many super quality DJs out there that I mean, and I've seen them so many times now that I know their style. I almost know what kind of song they're going to play next.
Mhm.
And I think that it's an interesting thing from my perspective. From also the listener's perspective, I used to be a lot more engaged. I used to throw up emotes, like a lot, much more in there. And then after
Mhm.
time, I'm just kind of like, I'm not as engaged, and it kind of, I don't want to say it's watered down, but it's in a way, it's kind of lost its little sparkle.
Mm.
it's just not as like captivating as it used to. Mostly because I'm always engaged with it. I have
Mhm.
Twitch open all the time. So,
Right.
um, yeah. What was? I just want to make sure I answered the question.
Just,
Yeah.
well, you know what? Grind of Fool asked another one that kind of like sort of leads us there too. So, like, at what point did you gain the ability to both, you know, do the mixing, stay in that zone that you want to stay in, and connect with your audience? Because I
Yeah.
know for me, I can't
Yep.
imagine doing all of that.
I think the one of the best things I ever did was I got a mic. This trusty, the Shure, what is it, the 310? No, excuse me, the SM58, the workhorse of the industry. I got a mic, and it was a whole lot easier to just talk to people. When people come in, say what up, and treat them like they're coming into your home studio because they are. Now, I think that this will change eventually. Hopefully, fingers crossed, will change because I'd like to have more viewers. But
Mhm,
um, I'd like those viewers to really jive with what I'm doing, and that's why I try to switch up the type of shows that I have, and I make it very clear what type of shows I have, or what type of music I'm spinning. So I think that, yeah, getting a mic and making it as easy as possible for you to interact with the audience digitally, or
mhm,
in whatever way you want to, so that it frees up your hands and your mind to do what you're doing, and
mhm,
so it doesn't keep
mhm.
take you out of the zone.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's the part that honestly really impresses me because I don't feel like any of the DJs, at least that I really watch, um, lose a flow. Like there is always a good flow, and I'm like, that's amazing. It feels like voodoo to me. Um, okay, so we have like 6 minutes left. This was fantastic.
It was a lot of
I
fun.
loved it. Yes, yes. Yeah, I've said this to everybody, but at some point you'll have to come back and we can talk about something other than production, or we can talk about production for the whole freaking hour.
Yeah,
Who
we could talk
knows?
about talk
Um,
about whatever we want, whatever you want.
exactly. It's my show
It
and
is.
you're in charge and the chat is in charge. So who knows? We're not talking about pineapple on pizza today, but maybe next time.
Maybe.
Um, yeah. Quickly becoming Twitch's leading authority on weird food combinations. Um, so before we go, what can we tell the chat about your stream schedule?
Sure. So stream schedule right now, like I said, I am doing that RPM challenge. So trying to do a session from one of these tracks every pretty much every day, except for the weekends. It's kind of hit or miss. And that's from noon to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Mhm,
And yeah, trying to do that as much as possible. Tomorrow, well, every Wednesday I've been doing 8 to 10 p.m. It's kind of shifting a little bit. I may do a little bit earlier, but generally from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I might shift it a little bit earlier, from like 7 to 9, and then extend if um, um, yeah, if I'm feeling it, if everybody's feeling it, we extend.
mhm.
On Thursdays, Deep
Oh, wait,
Dark
wait,
and
and
Thursday. Oh yeah.
Wednesday is
Oh
that's the wet
yeah.
Wednesday, right? Okay.
That is Wet Wednesday. Liquid drum and bass, generally speaking. And yeah, usually pretty vibey, but can be pretty energetic at the same time. So
Mhm,
um,
mhm.
I'll keep you on your toes. That's for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
On
Okay, then what else?
then Thursday, from I think I was doing from noon to 2. Um, and again, like, it's kind of funny because, like, I feel like I've switched. I'm trying to find the right time slot for me and everybody else. But yeah, noon to 2 on Thursdays is Deep Dark and Thursdays. So deep and jungle drum and bass. I like to mix the two pretty heavily, so very bassy,
Mhm,
with a lot of amens. You'll probably like it if you're into drum and bass. Um, then on Saturday, I think it's 2 to 4 is crate digging. So basically, you'll see me go through new tunes to me, maybe not to you, but we're going to go through them. We're going to listen to them. We're going to categorize them. Eventually, I'll start going into other more in-depth, complex things of what I'd call rating on a
Mm.
5-star rating system. But yeah, crate digging. So just listening to new tunes and talking about them. Again, it's kind of like this idea of like, hey, I'm going to be doing this anyway. Might as well do it with you guys. So come and join me.
Yes. Yes. I
Um,
have to say, like, it's very nice for me as someone who anticipates very soon starting to build a big library, learning how someone else approaches it.
well, it's really made my streams that much more interesting, or my sets in general. Is go with the vibe, because people come to it and they don't like to be changed. They don't like change that much. They come to it and they like something that they're listening to, and they want to kind of stick with it.
Right,
Sometimes
right.
they're just into the total eclectic nature of it, and then you get a whole bunch of people that are totally eclectic, and then you've got to keep changing things over. Either way, stick with the vibe and you'll be fine. Monday mornings from 10 to 11, or yeah, from 10 to 11. I've been trying to do a Monday mixdown where I'm not talking on the mic. It's just an hour mix that I record and then put on Mixcloud. So trying to get a little content up on there. Just 1 hour,
Nice.
just some way to start your Monday.
Yeah, yeah, and then the chat can bug you and, see if we can actually get you to talk. Like we did that one day, I felt so bad. You
Oh
were
yeah,
trying you were trying so
everybody was
hard,
like,
and you'd had, like, a
why
bunch of
don't you just
computer
use your
trouble.
mic? I'm like, oh my god. Yeah, yeah, Windows really punched me in the face on
Yeah.
the new updates. So
I'm glad you're
luckily,
back.
yeah, I'm happy to be back and very happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me,
Yeah,
Curly.
yeah,
This was
yeah.
this
Thank
was
you.
awesome.
Awesome. Okay,
True
I'm gonna
pleasure.
pop you out. If you need to go, go. If you wanna stay and chat for a little bit after I'm done, that's cool too. I'm just gonna tell everybody about what's happening next week, and yeah, then we'll finish up for the night. So, yeah, thanks again for being here. I so
Oh yeah,
appreciate it.
truly my pleasure. Thank you again.
Yeah,
And yeah, we'll definitely stay in touch. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Um,
yeah.
and
Give him a
yeah, big
follow,
ups, Curly.
guys. Alright, bye. Okay, peeps. So, next week, I'm super excited because, um alright. Hopefully you can hear me now. That's so weird. It said my mic was on. Okay, awesome. So yeah, DJ Roxanne is going to be here. She is from San Francisco. She was super involved in the drum and bass scene there in the late 90s, mid to late 90s and early 2000s, and I'm sure beyond. But I'm super curious because a lot of stuff was going on there as far as stateside drum and bass. So I know that you guys don't know her as a streamer, but I'm telling you, as a DJ, it's going to be amazing. And she also has the most amazing day job that I don't know if she's going to want to talk about it, but I really hope she does because I swear to God, you will be into it. It is a super, super cool day job as well. So, plus she's a dope person. So, I really hope you guys will be here. I love all of you. I'm gonna find somebody for us to raid. I think I want to roll into somebody who maybe has a smaller audience. They're playing music. I think it's I am distinct D&B. So actually, let me make sure that she is still up, guys. If you haven't seen her, she's fantastic. She plays great music and uh, has such a great like energy. She's one of those people that we talked about before that uh, just you can't help but have fun because she's having fun. So yeah, let's raid into her if I can make that happen. Oh, and she's just starting too, so we can bring her an audience as we go. So yeah, guys, be sure and give her some love when we roll in. And I'm gonna do the outro. You guys will be able to hear one of my tunes. And I love you.